And we're back for our second session in week 7. We have a bunch of stuff to do today as we cover the holidays at the end of this week, Thursday being the traditional scheduled Buddha's birthday, and Friday being the Labor Day or Workers' Day, International Workers' Day. So Wednesday evening class gets to be treated like it's a holiday. I'm going to give you a recording, and that's tonight. So right now it is Wednesday evening as I'm recording this. And let's just get started. First, things coming up. The holidays, as I mentioned, for the rest of this week. Next week, Tuesday, May 5, is Children's Day. But for our classes, we don't have to care because I usually do a recording on Tuesdays. And so my Monday night and Tuesday class have a recording. It doesn't affect our class. That means next week we have our regular schedule. The Monday-Tuesday class gets a recording, and Wednesday night and Friday day we'll have regular Zoom classes the way we always do it, using the same link as every week. But the week after that, May 11 through 15, is midterm examinations week, and that's special. We don't have any class meetings. We don't have any recordings in midterms week. We will have one-to-one tests in Zoom, but that's a different place in Zoom, and you'll have to check the CTL, the 학습자료, to find the link with the password to enter into Zoom. And those one-to-one tests, it's a private meeting room with a waiting room. And that means when you click on the link 5 minutes before your test time, according to the timetable, we're going to look at the timetable in a minute. When you look at the timetable and you see your time and you enter the Zoom meeting room about 5 minutes early, you're going to jump into a waiting room. It'll look like this, except the red dotted line is my added marking so you can see it better. You'll jump into a waiting room, and then I will invite you in to meet me one-to-one. And we'll talk more about the interviews next week. There are also the listening tests. Now, the listening test will take place in Zoom, but in a different room from what we usually use, and a different room from the one-to-one tests. The listening test for my night class will be Monday night at 8:30, and the listening test for my day class will be Tuesday at 3 p.m. Do look at the timetable. The timetable has your test marked for your one-to-ones and for the whole. So let's take a quick look at the tests. We need to jump into the CTL, and in the CTL we can see there are a couple of things here. One is listening midterms test note here, and it will go into the new week when we are there. And the midterms timetable. I already opened the midterms timetable, but it's a little bit off, so we'll jump over like this, and you can see that the midterms timetable is marked. And in fact, I marked the midterms to start 15 minutes late. I always start my midterm class test late because there's no makeup, there's no I'm sorry, and coming in late means you lose. So when the day class is supposed to start at 3 o'clock, I don't know if you can see that, Let me mark it. When the day class is supposed to start at 3 o'clock, I've actually going to start the test at 3:15. And when the night class is supposed to start at 8:35, actually 8:35, I'm going to start it at 8:45. And you should plan for more than 30 minutes for the test. If we have any headaches or hiccups in the very beginning, the test will take longer. But usually my test takes about 27 minutes or 30 minutes. After the test, you have to send me an email with your test. And you have only 10 minutes from the time the test is finished to send me your test. So, what does that mean? It means you have to pay attention to what's going on. There is a video, Introduction to the Listening Test. This is not attendance. This doesn't count for your grade. But if you watch it, and it might not watch very well in this recording, but if you watch it, okay. So this is it's going to show you introduction to the class take the test. I forgot to put my earphone in. All right, it's going to show you how to take the test. So you want to watch that video. Which is right here. Well, you can see it. You want to watch this video maybe more than one time. It has lots of advice. And you're lucky, because when I do the midterm test in class, I don't give the students so much information. And they have to sink or swim, live or die, based on what they hear in the class. But I've given you a little bit extra information, and you can play that recording several times to make sure you understand it. Okay. Listening to the midterm test. Here's the post. This post is for the day class, so it says the time. I can't keep my earphone in tonight. I don't know what's going on. And if I go to the night class, it should have the right time, but let's just double check. Ah! I didn't fix it. Let me fix it right now. The midterm test is Monday. May 11th at 8:30 p.m. Good. I found this. Save. Okay, so what you'll see is it makes some notes. It reminds you of some information that is in the video, which is you're going to need a clean sheet of A4 paper, which I've just hidden. Now this one's already got notes on it. Alright? And this is EPA1. This is a recycled paper. So if you use EPA1, you need 2 pieces. Alright? You need a clean sheet of A4 paper, or almost A4 is okay. If it has rips in the paper, like this one, that's okay. Don't care. Right? You need a good pen or a pencil. Actually, if your pen is fat, if it writes fat, it'll be easier. You don't need an eraser. You don't need a white pen. If you make a mistake, just X it out and keep going. Here's my example of, you can see where I have X'd out something, just kind of, and right. You need good earphones. Earbuds are okay, like this one, but you should have 2. But actually, earphones are better because they block out external sound. If you're using your computer speakers, well, it's up to you. You need quiet space. You need good listening. It's a listening test. If you can't hear, you lose. Okay? Now, reminder, you can use your book. Let me see this. You can use your notebook. You can use computer or anything you want to use when you're writing your test, but you can't waste time. Okay? It's a timed test. I talk, you write. Just like you're speaking, but you write. How often do you take a shower in the morning? I sometimes take a shower in the morning. Okay? All right? At the end of the test, you take a photograph of your test and send me the image, the photograph of your test in email. That's my email address. You have 10 minutes. If it's later than 10 minutes, it's late. You lose. No points. Now remember, the interview test is 10 minutes. The listening, the interview test is 10 points. 10 points. The listening test is 10 points. Each is 10. If you do terrible on your test, you still get 7. 7 is low. 7, 8, 9, 10. And the other one, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put them together, your lowest score will be 16. If you take the test, I promise you at least 7 on each test and at least 16 total. But if you miss a test, you get nothing. So suddenly your 16 could be 7. Take the test, do it on time. You have had 7 weeks plus to figure out how to survive this class online. There's nothing new here. Click on the Zoom. Click the meeting ID. If there's a problem and you're in Zoom, you can type in the meeting ID and then you'll need to type in the password. But should be, if you just click on this, it should open up no problem if you use the same computer you have been using. Okay? EPA night's room, EPA day's room is different, so don't just look at this. Go up to the 학습자료 and click on the right page. So that is your listening test information. Oh, what happened there? Okay. Let's double check and make sure it's saved. F5. Confirm. You get to start all over again. EPA1 night. It's always interesting when things jump around. Yes, got it. Okay. That is the listening test. Back to my PowerPoint. Where did you go? All right. Listening test, the one-to-one test, and the timetable. Want to remind you that the test is not only on language. It can include anything that I have taught, anything that is up on the CTL, the English and the language and content balance can be on your test, either in a written test or in a speaking test. Got to be ready. It's language and content. Okay, next I want to talk about the assignments. I know I'm behind in marking assignments. It's a hard semester for professors too. We're learning also. We have a lot of things that happen. I can record a class and somehow it dies and I have to record the class again. So yes, I save some time because EPA1 day and night is the same lecture. If it's a recorded lecture, I can use the same lecture. I save some time. It's true. But the other side of it is all the assignments I'm giving, because I can't just ask you to show me in class. I can't just look at the notebook and go, yeah, okay. I have to download the file, open the file, look at the file, go back to the 학습자료, mark a point. And it's much easier walking around class with the chosepu and just going, yep, 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 okay, okay. So it takes a lot more time for us. The assignments I'm giving you are not really much different than what we do in the classroom. It's just that now you have to upload them, and that's a little bit more work for you. I understand. I respect that. It's harder for you. It's harder for us. We're all working together. So I'll be working on your assignments during our long weekend here. Buddha's birthday, Labor Day, Saturday, Sunday. And of course, usually on Sunday I make recordings for the next week, Monday, Tuesday. If your work is as expected, no surprise, it's what I want, I don't make any comments in the CTL. I just mark the 1 point and save. If I need to make a comment, the comment could be that you did something very well, or it could be that it's not what I expect and here's some advice. For example, a different way to say things. We don't need to say, my company is ABC Company. We can just say, ABC Company is blah, blah, blah. ABC Company is a general services contract company. We provide manpower to businesses with short-term need. Something like that. Our head office is in Seoul, blah, blah, blah. All right? So I might give you advice if you do something not quite what I expected. The input I give you, you can use on your test. So I suggest that you look at these assignments early next week, sometime next week, and maybe print out your work or look at your work, revise your work, because I could ask you that question. During the midterm test, I could say, oh, so who do you work for? Oh, you work for ABC Company? Tell me about ABC Company. Oh, I forgot. I did my homework. Yeah, okay. So tell me. Oh, my homework is online. That doesn't help you. Okay? If you're not ready to say it easily, you need to practice it. I know you did a recording. That was your first try based on your earlier writing. Now I want you to work on it more, practice it more, make it beautiful. It can be on the test. All right? So I know that we have personal self-introduction and I'm a company worker self-introduction. I'm not going to grade the listening. I'm just going to check and make sure there is a listening assignment posted. I mean, a speaking. So you wrote your company introduction and you did a speaking of your company introduction. I think I don't need to grade the speaking. I wish I had time to sit with each student, but I really don't. So if you're worried about your speaking, send me a message on Kakao. We'll make a time and we'll do a little practice. That's my job. That's fine. But I can't try to do a recording, listening to your recording, and I'm talking and giving you feedback that way. That just doesn't work. It's just not that friendly. But we can have a Kakao chat, or we can have a Zoom chat or a Skype chat. But you have to start. You have to say, I want this. All right? That's just fair. You ask your professor for help. So I think that takes care of all that. We're going to close him and we're going to say goodbye. The 7th week first listening, that's the week that I'm still recording. It's still the 7th week. It looks like 12 people in my night class have listened so far and 13 have not. And I want to remind you that you should be listening to the first recording before the second recording. You should be listening before the Zoom. So be sure that you keep up and do your things. Now, you have a homework assignment that's actually due tonight as I'm recording this, Wednesday night. Right? So sometime before the end of April 29th, you have an assignment writing 8 sentences telling 8 different routine activities in your life. And I pointed to the book. Right? Page 17. How often do you work overtime? You don't need the question. Just give me an answer. But I said, don't use the activities on the page. So not in the yellow box and not the other things. How often do you kiss your mother? I rarely kiss my mother. Or whatever. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So that is done. 20 minutes into this class and we haven't moved forward yet. We're still reviewing. That's the problem with the online class. I want to point out that in my usual classes, the homework is not about your life today. In the usual class, the classroom class, other years, the homework is imagining your future typical day. 5 years after graduation. But we haven't got there yet. Page 23 is a speaking task. Open your books, open your books, open your books. Page 23. Page 23 is a speaking task. And I hope we will have time to do this page next week in our live Zoom class. Next week's live Zoom class is a review, but I hope we will also have time to do this. And it talks about typical day, but not a typical day. Page 23 is about today. But I often suggest that you also think about your future. So page 23 is a partner's job. It's very simple. One person has the answer, one person has the question. You ask the question, get the answer. It's very simple, very mechanical. It's 10:15. What is Miss Laurios doing? She's talking on the telephone. Then, after we have practiced this, I ask students to think about their future job. 5 years after graduation, in their job, what is a typical day? Because some days are going to be different. Today we have a big company meeting. Today we have a kind of a company MT. Today our company is doing something special. But the typical day, the average day, the usual day in your company, it's 11:45 p.m. What are you doing? Oh, I'm sleeping. Okay. It's 10:30 a.m. What are you doing? I'm taking a coffee break. Oh man, do you ever work? Okay, it's 9 a.m. on a typical day at your company. What are you doing? I'm checking email. Okay, good. So we have an ing. And we're not worrying about future tense. It's not I will be doing. It's imagine in your head already it's the year 2027. 5 years after you graduate. And we're talking about your typical job. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. What are you doing? I'm drinking tea. Man, do you ever work? I don't know. So, page 23, I hope we will have a chance to do that simple activity in class next week. But even if we don't, think about a typical day timetable just like you had for your homework, but imagine 5 years in the future. Okay, turn the page. Page 24 is big. It's important. It's a big deal for me. I'm going to talk a lot about this. I'm going to kill most of this class on this. And that's a hint that maybe also it's a big deal for your test. The title is Protecting Our World. And yes, it's about environment, and maybe you have taken or maybe you will take a class with Professor Ishik Young, environmental policy, environmental administration, 환경 행정, 환경 정책. I'm not sure. Anyway, he teaches an environment class. Environment studies is an important field for Dr. Ishik Young. And this article is about that. But this article is also about two other ideas. And so we're going to talk about all those in this class time. So let's get started. I'm going to start by reading the article. And by the way, yes, this page has a star in my book. Very testable. Ready? Protecting the world's environment is important to us all. At Shell, we believe this is part of our business, and we are doing our best to take care of our environment when we do business. Stop. Do you know Shell? Many people think Shell is an American company, and me too. Originally, I always thought it was an American company, but actually the name is Royal Dutch Shell, and it was started from the Netherlands. And they are one of the world's big three oil companies, petroleum companies. They're drilling for oil in the North Sea between England and Netherlands. They're drilling for oil in the Caribbean Sea near the U.S. and near Mexico. They're drilling for oil all around the world. So petroleum company, oil company. Next paragraph. As an energy company, cleaner air is an important goal for us. So we're working hard to make our air cleaner in many ways. We're playing a major part in the move from oil to gas. We're planting trees. We're building clean energy plants. We're studying solar and wind energy. Okay, now I told you that Royal Dutch Shell is an oil company. But here we're learning, this is, remember, year 1999 or 2000, we're learning that the company is starting to make a change, just from oil to other things, and they're calling themselves an energy company, not an oil company. Okay. Next. We're also working together with groups around the world. We're telling them about our business in their area, and we're asking for their ideas and advice. We know that the protection of the world's environment is difficult and expensive. But at Shell, we're trying to balance profits and environmental concerns. Because do we really profit if the world doesn't? For example, is money helpful if you can't breathe? Okay, so let's just move straight in to complete the sentences. At Shell, we're, I'll give you 3 minutes. Go ahead. At Shell, we're playing a major part in the move from oil to gas. Go. Okay, well, actually, this is pretty easy, so 3 minutes was surely too much time. At Shell, we're playing a major part in the move from oil to gas. We're planting trees. We're building clean energy plants. We're studying solar and wind energy. Finally, it says, we're also working with groups around the world. These are all ing, right? We're doing now. So the grammar part's really easy. And the answers are really easy because they're very short sentences right there in the book reading. So that's easy. That's done. Okay, so what is this reading about? Is it about Shell? Well, yeah, but I'm not going to test you about Shell Company. Okay? I'm not going to test you about Shell Company. Instead, what I want us to understand are two different ideas. And the first idea has several labels. I'm going to drag this image over here. I'm going to shrink me because I'm already too big. And we're looking at these. Corporate citizenship. Corporate social responsibility. This one's actually known pretty well in Korea. They call it CSR. And CSR is fine. And the third point in this first big idea is good neighbor policy. So they're really very similar but not quite the same thing. Corporate social responsibility, or CSR, is a very broad idea that says businesses are not only to make money. Now, we have to understand that that's actually a radical idea. That is not, that's not the traditional business idea. Traditionally, businesses said our job is making money. We are not a charity. We are not a social service. People invest their money, their retirement, their gambling sometimes, their money in the business, expecting to make money. Our job is to take care of our stockholders first, our owners. And the second job maybe is to take care of our employees. Okay? And then a third job maybe is to take care of other people in the community that work with us. Okay? And that the widest idea, where we're taking care of employees and people around us, is sometimes called a stakeholder approach. Okay? Stakeholder. Who has a stake? Who has an investment? Okay? Sometimes we say put in your stakes when we're talking about gambling. You know, put your money in. Ante is what another word. So stake is your investment, your stake, but it doesn't have to be financial. It can be other things. So who has some kind of investment in this group? So the man that runs the 7-Eleven near to the office, and many staff go into the 7-Eleven in the morning to buy something as they walk into work. It's a rainy day, they run into the 7-Eleven to buy an umbrella. They're busy, they run into the 7-Eleven to buy a sandwich. Maybe they buy a coffee. If that business goes away, that 7-Eleven will die. That shop. So that the owner of that 7-Eleven has a stake in the business, even though he's not an owner, even though he doesn't work there. The hagwon that teaches the kids of employees of the company has a stake, because if the company goes away, the hagwon fails. And if you need a good example, you can look down in Koje, where shipbuilding companies have had problems, which means the workers don't have money, which means the whole local economy gets in trouble. Koje was a really good example. Daegu too has lost a lot of business, a lot of employees have left because there's no good jobs, and businesses have closed, they're not paying taxes. So a lot of people have a stake. So corporate social responsibility says we have a responsibility, we have an obligation to society beyond our stakeholder, our owners, shareholders, right? And beyond our employees, we have a responsibility wider. The corporation has an obligation wider. And sometimes that idea is called corporate citizenship. Corporate citizenship is really pretty much the same thing, but sometimes people treat corporate citizenship as being involved with just my immediate neighborhood or the city that I'm in. So do I pay taxes? Do I make pollution in my town? Corporate citizenship is kind of more like in our area, whereas corporate social responsibility could be much wider. But still pretty much just about the same things. Nobody makes a big deal about the difference. They're pretty much the same thing. And a good neighbor policy simply means that, you know, you're a good neighbor. In your apartment, do you make a lot of noise and bang on the floor and disturb your neighbors? No, you want to be a good neighbor. If you have a apartment complex with a trash section, everybody takes out their trash the right way, nobody makes a big mess. This is being a good neighbor. Well, businesses have the same challenge, to be a good neighbor. Again, very similar to the idea of corporate citizenship. Are you a stakeholder? Are you not? What about future? Right? What about the children who are not born yet? Are you influencing their world, their life? You know, being a good neighbor is not just about today. So these ideas, corporate citizenship, corporate social responsibility, or CSR, good neighbor policy, or even call it a stakeholder approach, these are ideas of thinking about, is the company being good to the people? And here Shell is talking about, we're building clean energy plants, we're studying solar and wind energy, we're working together with groups around the world because protection of the world's environment is difficult, expensive, but we're trying to balance profits and environmental concerns because who cares about money if we all dead, right? So that's kind of the corporate social responsibility idea. The second key area in this video, in this reading, is environmental. And I want to talk about environmentalism for a little bit. Now, some of you guys might know more about environmentalism than I do, because I don't study it nowadays. I was a Boy Scout. Long ago, when I was young, when I had hair, I was a Boy Scout. And we did lots of things related to the environment. We went out and went up to the mountains and tried to fight erosion, you know, when the hill is falling down because of the rains, and so and people are walking through and they're damaging the mountains. We would go out and do things like that. Physical labor to go out and fix the mountain. We would collect trash off the mountain. So there's one level of environmentalism, which is very obvious and very clear. But there's a couple of other things. And very often the word that is used is recycle. To recycle. Recycle. Cycle again. Cycle means go around. So recycle, recycle. My hand's going so fast that you can't see it on the camera. To cycle again and again. Well, that actually gets confused. There's more than one idea there. So let's see if we can't make this. I'm going to make myself smaller so we can make this bigger so that we can see it better. So there's my graphic. And I call it the 3 R's. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. And very often people conflate, I've used that word before, conflate these ideas. To conflate means to mix different things together. And I'm going to type that out for you, C-O-N-F-L-A-T-E. And shrink this and bring it into your eyes. Come here, you. Put up right there. Conflate means to take different ideas and mix them together so that people are confused. They don't understand it's different. So in these 3 R's, we have 3 different ideas. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. And I think you know that recycling logo. It's used a lot. And it's used on your PET bottles, P-E-T bottles. Now, PET is actually a very, very long word. And I don't even remember what it is, but it's got like 30 letters or 25 letters. But it's a kind of plastics. And we've broken it down, and there's like PET 1 and PET 2 and PET 3 and PET 4. And in some places, they like certain kind of PET, but they don't like other kinds of PET. And this is not my expertise. Okay? But the 3 R's come down to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Now, reduce means use less. Use less. And you can use less in many ways. Reuse means take this thing and use it again. And when you use it again instead of buying a new one, you are reducing. And then recycle is what happens when you cannot use it again. So let's give some examples. I usually drive my car to the store. And I drive there 3 times a week because I like shopping. But the weather's nice. And usually I don't buy a lot. So I'm going to go to the store 3 times a week. I'm not going to reduce my trips. But 2 times a week, I'm going to walk or use a bicycle. And I have my tote bag, my carry bag. And this is true. I can walk to Home Plus from my house. It takes, depends how lazy I am, 10 or 15 minutes to walk. And I carry 1 big tote bag or 2 big tote bags. And if I'm buying stuff not too heavy, it's not a big problem. So I reduce my driving. I don't drive 3 times a week. I only drive once a week. That means I'm reducing gas. The gasoline in my car, actually diesel. I'm reducing the petroleum, the oil, the diesel in my car. And that means I'm also reducing pollution. So those are all good reduces. Now reuse could be that bag. In the old days, you went to the store and they gave you a binabongtu, a plastic bag, or maybe in some places a paper bag. But nowadays, especially in Korea, but in many, many countries, we don't do that anymore. They don't give you bags. You have to bring your own bag. And you buy a bag and you use it again and again and again and again. Now you are reusing your bag. Or water bottles. You have your 500cc water bottle that you buy from the store. Sure you do. Well, that's your spending money, using fuel. I'm going to stop this for a second to get an example. Hold on. I want to talk about water bottles. So, you could use a water bottle like this. This one happens to be 330 milliliter, 330 cc. But very often you'll have 500 cc, and that's kind of one person size. You go to the store and you pay 600 won or 3,000 won or however much you want to pay for a simple water bottle. And you drink it, and maybe you throw it away. Well, now we've just wasted that plastic bottle, and the packaging for that bottle, and the shipping for that bottle. All of the work involved in that little bottle. And some people buy 2 or 3 bottles in a day. Alternatively, on the other hand, another choice could be to buy a bigger bottle. This one is 2 liters. This one is 2 liters. That means it's 4 of those 500 milliliter bottles, or almost 7 of the 330 milliliter bottles. Is it more plastic than the little bottle? Where's my little bottle? Where did it go? It rolled away. Oh shoot. My wife is going to kill me. Ah, there we go. Is it more work than the small bottle? Sure it is. There's more plastic here. But is there 7 times more plastic here than here? No way. Maybe, I don't know, triple? Maybe 4 times? And for a 500cc bottle, probably 3 times? I'm not an engineer, I won't claim. Okay, it weighs more. Maybe the cost of the fuel to move from point A to point B will be about the same. But this requires a lot more packaging of plastic, and they put them in boxes or they wrap it in plastic. If you buy this, you're going to save. Why? Because you are reducing the load. And of course you could drink this bottle and then pour into here and reuse this bottle. But we're going back to the reuse. So I'm going to reduce this screen size, make it less, so we can make more space. So now we can reuse this bottle a few times, but it's pretty hard to clean, right? And if you're only using water, it's no problem, but still it gets kind of stinky after a while. Maybe you put some baking soda or something in it, but still, you can only use it a few times. You can't really wash it. So you throw it away. But what if you use one of these guys? This one actually is, I think, 600cc. But it has a mouth on it. It's not so big, but it has a mouth so that you can run a bottle brush in it. You can clean it. You can put any kind of tea or anything in it. You can use it for months. If you don't lose it, throw it away. So let's say we can use this bottle 5 or 7 times, maybe. I keep one in my backpack. In fact, this bottle came from my backpack. I carry it everywhere. But every 2 or 3 weeks, I have I clean it one time with baking soda and use it another week or 2, and then I have to throw it away. But with this one, you could use forever, almost. So in this case, we're not using the bottle at all, right? We're not using this bottle at all. So we're reducing the amount of plastic, and we're using it more. So we're reducing more and we're reusing more. But recycle is when we come to the point where we don't throw this in the trash into the mountain taking up space, but we grind up this plastic in machines, and then they can use this plastic to make something else. Probably not another bottle. Plastic doesn't work well, but plastic can be used to make roads. That black road that you walk on and drive on could be recycled plastic. Paper is especially good. Notebook paper, A4G, they recycle it and they make cardboard. They don't make too much paper a second time because it's a little bit rougher. It's not quite as nice quality, but it's very good for cardboard. And metal, of course, cars or whatever, we can melt the steel and use the steel again. So we have reduce, which is to use less, to reuse, which is to use something again, and that, in effect, reduces load. And then we can recycle, which finally reduces the amount of original product, right? We need less iron from the ground if we can melt the steel and use it again. Aluminum is very well known for recycling. Steel, aluminum, these are good for recycling. Glass is difficult but possible to actually recycle. But beer bottles, if you see at the restaurants or whatever, they bring in all these bottles of Cass or whatever, and then they also take out the bottles. And those bottles go back to the factory where they are washed in steam and put beer in it again and send it out again. So we can reuse glass in its native form, in its original form. The beer bottle gets used again. Coke bottles get used again. And then finally the glass is broken or it's just not pretty. They don't repaint them. They give it up and they take it to the glass place that grinds it up and makes roads from it or whatever. So 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. Alright. That's a lot of talk. That can be on your test. I could say, tell me about the 3 R's. Or give me an example of something being recycled or reused or reduced or like that. So that's your challenge, the 3 R's. Alright. Now, we are on page 25. Don't worry about the memo at the top. You're welcome to try to write something. That's good. If you send me something, I'll look at it. I'll give you feedback, but it's not part of the class. But down at the bottom of page 25 says numbers. Part 5 and Part 6. Part 5 has A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Just numbers. So find a piece of paper that you can write on. Now, actually, I write this stuff on my book. I make space to write in my book. So I don't care where you write it. If you write it in your notebook, I don't care. Because I don't grade this. I don't look to see that you did it. This is for your listening practice. So number 5 is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. And then number 6 is A, B, C, D, E, F. Alright? Each case it's numbers. Let's listen. Number 5.
Page 25. Numbers. Exercise 5. Listen. On a piece of paper, write the numbers you hear.
A. 700,000.
B. 150,000.
C. 275,000.
D. 829,000.
E. 5 million.
F. 9,600,000.
G. 11,750,000.
H. 341,000.
I. 24,125,000.
J. 473,000.
Okay. Now I've created a little background noise for you that might have made you very frustrated. And, you know, when you listen to stuff in the real world, it's hard. So I was typing out these numbers while it was playing. I have the numbers written in my book, but I typed them out so you could see them. I want to see if you got these right. Are you ready? A. 700,000. So remember, in English, this first comma is a 1,000 marker. And we don't, in American English, we don't say thousands, although in UK, especially in older times, sometimes they do. But in America, we treat this as an adjective. It is something that affects. It is not a thing. So we don't put an S on it. We say 700,000. And then we would say something like kittens. 700,000 kittens. Oh my gosh. Alright, so you can see that we don't need to say 700,000 kittens, because kitten is the thing. 1,000 is just a way to describe it. So we say 700,000. Alright? The first comma in a number series is 1,000. So B is 150,000. C is 275,000. There's that comma. D is 829,000. E, now we have a million marker. Right? And 1,000 marker. A-W-S-A-N-D. But since the 1,000 is 0, we don't say it. We don't need to say 5,000,000. Okay, we just delete it all. 5 million. The next one, 9,600,000. 9,600,000. G, 11,750,000. 750,000. H, 341,000. I, 24,125,000. J, 473,000. Excuse me, 473,000. Okay? Now, we're going to listen to the next one, number 6. There is A, B, C, D, E, F. Boy, my voice is going. And in this case, I suggest that you not write only the number. They only ask for the number. But how about you try to write the thing that we're counting? You know, 375 eggs. Don't worry about spelling. It's E-G-G-S, but don't worry about the spelling. This is not a spelling class. Alright? We're going to try to write down the number, and if you can, the thing.
Page 25. Exercise 6. Listen. You will hear information about company business. Write only the numbers.
A. We're producing 280,000 batteries a month.
B. This tanker is carrying 260,000 barrels of oil in its hold.
C. Right now, the assembly line is making about 1 million units a year.
D. Aren't you importing over 3 million semiconductors?
E. He is coordinating a $37 million project.
F. They are projecting an increase of 685,000 shares.
Okay. I haven't finished typing, but we'll bring this down. A. 280,000 batteries. Car batteries, flashlight batteries, we don't know. B. 260,000 barrels of oil. And I think I spelled barrels wrong. Is that 2 L's? I can't remember. Well, that looks wrong. Maybe it's 1. C. He said about 1 million units. Now, unit means a thing, a countable thing. 한개, 두개, 세개, right? 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit. Unit is not descriptive at all. It just says a countable thing. D said over 3 million. Semiconductors. Right? The kind of stuff that Samsung makes, the little memory or processing units. E. This time we need a dollar sign. $37 million. Now you could write $37 million. You could write MILLION, and you could write DOLLARS. I don't care. And the last one was 685,000 shares. Shares means one part of a company. We usually talk about stocks. Okay? So a share is one value stock. And that's what we're doing before our midterm test. Now, most semesters we actually get to Unit 5. We get through Unit 5. We include Unit 5 on the midterm test. But because this semester is a little flaky, a little shaky, I'm not going to test on Unit 5, although we will probably, let's see how things are going, we will probably start Unit 5, but I will not put Unit 5 on the midterm test. And we have enough time for today, so I don't have anything further to cover right now. Remember, this is ING week chapter, and you've done this in middle school, you've done this in high school. This should be no challenge to you. Noun, I, you, he, the dog. To be is are, am. Future possible, will be. Past tense, did. ING. Okay. Let's call it a day. Thank you very much.